Asking is the key. Do not.
When maybe I shared an experience putting together a board. I tried it just hearing your seminar, not seeing you for real, and I thought the idea is the only thing that works, and I called a couple of guys, one from Mayor Brown, two partners from what was it, PVC, I think. I called two guys, two from PVC, one from M&A, an M&A company, and one well-connected real estate broker. And I just called them and met each and every one. And but I have only the idea. I shared with them not the huge vision, and that is the point I want to bring across. You have to make crystal clear what you want from them. I only did the meeting and say, well, I have an idea. I asked good guys like you. We sat together, we built a company, and we collect money and invest it. That was all. That was my story. And everyone, well, I think their idea was, well, we can earn a lot of consulting fees, and we can write huge bills. So I managed to put all the people in one room, and everyone showed up. And I knew that the catastrophe arose when the introduction round. Okay, we are here, blah blah blah. And everyone introduced yourself. And the first one started, okay, I'm the lawyer from Mayor Brown, blah, blah, and I don't know exactly why I'm here.
Yeah.
The next one from PVC, the same, the next one, and
you have to take them all way on. You have to agree with one and after that.
Yeah, you should have never had them all in one room.
Yeah, they beat me out of the door, and it was,
See, he wouldn't be here. If that had worked, he wouldn't be here at the seminar today.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Dan, but I have a question as well. I understand three positions: financial, lawyer, and a brand name. Brand name.
Financial?
Accountant. Yeah, accountant. Lawyer, and a brand name for the board.
What do you mean a brand name? I never said no fucking brand name.
Someone to have a reputation like you.
You mean a chairman, not a brand name, you idiot. A fucking, an anchor chairman. Anchor chairman.
If I'm only the rest.
Anchor chairman. You don't want a brand name. You want an anchor chairman.
Anchor chairman. Someone with reputation. Other than that,
what?
Other than that, what other board members?
I already said it 3 times. Weren't you listening to me?
Yeah, I'm listening.
No, you weren't listening. Ask me during the break. I'll tell you during the break. Okay. Asking is the key. Do not imagine everyone is too busy to deal with. And I used the example, Princess Di complained that many times nobody ever called her. She was lonely. A lot of these guys have nothing to do. The fact that he could get these 4 or 5 guys in the same room just proves my point. And I do now know Mayor Brown, because they're my lawyers in Chicago. I couldn't think of whoever said it. Did you say it the first time? I thought you said Major Brown. Mayor.
He said
Okay.
Mayor.
Okay, Mayor. Okay. I do. They were my lawyers in Chicago. Okay. They're a big international firm. Yeah. And thought she would be too busy. The phone never rang. Yada yada. Many of the top stars have similar stories. They do come, and you got them. I'm not surprised that they came. Yeah, but why am I here? That ain't good. So, that thing died. You take them one at a time. And which one was the chairman, or was there a chairman?
No, I didn't have one.
Okay.
I wanted the lawyer to be, but the first answer was, I don't know exactly what happened.
Yeah. Okay. Not everyone will want to take a risk until properly sold. So you beat my slide. You didn't properly sell them yet. Well, I guess not even in the USA, even in Germany, even in the fatherland, they got to be properly sold. Okay. And now, but the interesting thing about it, I don't want to do it, but if I had been there, none of those guys would have said, I don't know why I'm here. Nobody would have said that to me. Nobody would. They might ask me at a break. I don't know exactly, or they might ask me beforehand exactly, and I'd say it'll all come clear. I'll explain to y'all. But I would have never had them all in the same room. One at a time. Not everyone will want to take the risk, except until properly sold, especially in the USA. Last year, over 100,000 businesses failed in the USA alone. Shareholders filed hundreds of federal U.S. class action suits. Recently, payments of directors and officers, plaintiffs averaged $10 million. 42% of outside directors surveyed had personally been sued. That's why they're afraid of the United States. They're afraid of the United States. Big time lawsuits. And normally you can't get directors. That's why I do the board of advisors. Directors in the U.S. without big time insurance. directors, officers and directors, and it's not cheap, especially in the U.S. It's not cheap. It's the stuff mostly intangible that determines the basic character of a business. It's bred from the founders, saturates the early employees, and shapes behavior long after the pioneers have passed on. Our culture builder, Hill, the culture
Enthusiasm.
the enthusiasm, the inhaler. Hewlett Packard still has some of the same culture as Mr. Hewlett, Mr. Packard, and I love to tell a story. Many years ago, I had a guy that worked for me he was asked to marry a girl that was part of the Packard family, Hewlett Packard. Ambassador Packard was ambassador to China for the U.S. government under Nixon. He was a billionaire, a legitimate billionaire before all the Johnny-come-lately billionaires now. And we were in the wedding line, and you know how you shake everybody's hand and you go through and all this shit. And one of the girls in the maids of honor was a flight attendant for PSA, that airline I showed you where they're all wearing the short skirts yesterday. And so she was going through, and she says, and the aide says, Ambassador Packard, this is Susie Woozy. And instead of shaking his hand, she goes up and grabs him by the crotch and the balls. For real. I was there, saw it with my own eyes. And said, I always wanted to thank you, Ambassador. I always wanted to know what $1 billion felt like as she's holding his balls. I was there. I saw it on the Packard estate in Silicon Valley. And
you have still not told us what your ex-wife did in Buckingham Palace.
Huh? Oh, I still got to do it. Okay, to ask me, remind me of dinner. I'll tell you dinner. Okay, so I thought I'd send you everything, but this was the 70s and so crazy, free sex and shit like that. And so, but Ambassador Packard just looked around and said, security guys grab her and Secret Service rip her away. And I went through, and then I shook hands, and I went through the whole thing. And but this guy that was asking me, should I marry her? I said, are you a fucking idiot? Of course you should marry her. I mean, one of the wealthiest, families in America, the world. And you got to ask me? And plus, she was good looking. She loved him. She was a real doozo, flip in the head, too much drugs or something. She loved him and all that shit. Plus, her dad had $1 billion. I mean, it can't get much better than that. And but the culture that Impaler is going to pass on, Ambassador Packard and Hewlett of Hewlett Packard, they still have the same kind of culture that they had then. And so you will be the guys that plant that culture. Myself, I'm not interested in culture because I want to exit. I start a company, I get involved in the company to sell. If not, the company sell my shares. I'm not interested in building a dynasty, I don't want another BMW or whatever. I just want my money. And so, even though you all say that you're interested in rolling the money out, but a lot of you really like the power, like and all the stuff that's associated with it. And that's one of the things that keeps people from going public, because a lot of times it's not likely you'll be Fred Smith, who's still CEO of Federal Express 40 years later. That's an anomaly. That's normally not the case.
And if you don't have to roll any money in?
What do you mean you don't have to roll? I don't understand.
You can set up property deals with no money.
Yeah, I know you can.
Yeah.
So then you don't have to go public. You mean?
No. I don't have to get my money back very urgently, because I can take the way until going public, or
okay.
I can just keep it and get income or whatever.
Okay. So I understand that. So, what are you saying? You don't want to exit?
I don't need to
Okay.
exit.
But whether you need to or you want to, you might want to exit because you might want to, stop working 20 years. You might want to exit. Maybe you don't want somebody else to run the business that you built. So we want to exit someday. Or you might want to keep your shareholder and just have it pay you dividends, etc., as long as the business is alive. There's no automatic exit. All I'm saying is I want out. I don't want to be involved in something that I have no intention of keeping shares as a minority shareholder. I'll be a minority shareholder in a public company because I can sell my shares whenever I want to. But I don't want to be a minority shareholder in a privately held company. I mean, there's no future for me. There's no future for any of the minority shareholders. And so that's the difference, and you need to ascertain that. And most of the board members that you're going to bring in aren't going to want to be shareholders in a minority shareholders in a company that has no exit. You know, what's the upside for them other than the honorarium as a director? Big fucking deal. And I mean the dividends on 2, 3, 4, 5%. Big fucking deal. They have no exit. The only exit they really have is something that's worthwhile is the value of their 2, 3, 4, 5% if sold. Got it? Of course. Okay. Quality and excellence begins with intent. Intent is fixed with top management. Begins with the mind of the CEO. That's you, Edward Deming, the guy that turned around Japanese management after World War II and made Japan pretty much what they were up until about 10 or 15 years ago. Leadership is action, not position. I told you I can make Bjorn president. I can't make him be respected. It's up to you. And I've seen a lot of guys from seminars that started out as CEO and wanted to be CEO, and we gave them a shot at being CEO, but it became apparent that they weren't good at it, so they took different positions. Just as Bill Gates is no longer CEO, although he was a pretty good CEO, but he is now chairman of innovation or some stuff like that. Okay, so we find you a new area, you know, that you're good at, hoping that you're good at something. Some guys are good at just coming up with ideas and putting people together and then running off to the next deal. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's not as fulfilling to some as others, but I'd rather go from deal to deal. I'm a transaction junkie. I would rather go from deal to deal. You know, 2 or 3 years is a long time for me to stay in a deal, especially now. I mean, I've been in deals a lot longer, but 2 or 3 years is a long time to stay in a deal. He's ready to commit to his life stream or to wave it goodbye. Freud had a phrase for the critical point. The return of the repressed. I forget, is the group thing, Freud is Prussian, Austrian? Austrian, okay. We can't blame any shit on him then. Okay. A lot of this stuff gets back to psychological. I pounded because it's self-evident to me after 39 years of doing this, but it's also self-evident to other successful people. There's a point in everybody's career. Let's just say, for an example, this is your point. This is your turning point. You've tried for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever your age is, 2 years or 1 year in the young guy's case. And what am I going to do now? Do I keep on doing what I've been doing the same thing again over and over again and expecting different results, which we've already shown you to us is insanity, or do I try really hard to do something different? And not try, but actually succeed at doing something different. And it'll be interesting tonight when you had a few drinks, not tonight, excuse me. You can have a few drinks tonight. I don't mean not to have a few drinks tonight, but Friday night when normally people let their hair down a little more, even the Hermans let their hair down a little more, have a little more to drink, to see what you talk about. And normally it comes out in the toasts, the prosts that you make, what your goals are. Which we're going to talk a lot about in the last 2 days at the seminar. Not the goals, but actually what you would take about when we talk about banking and what we do with the money and what we would do with it. What would you do with $1 million and what would you do with $5 million? Most of you don't know how to spend. In your business, maybe you could put $1 million in there you could do something with. But most of you, if you had $10 million, it wouldn't change your lifestyle that much. It's like people that win the lottery. What happens to most of the people that win the lottery? They lose all their money. Absolute. Not absolute, but almost absolute. That's why the smart people take it over 20 years or 40 years, And then, after the first 5 or 6 years, they lose all their money, and then hopefully then they keep their money the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th year.
Did you ever have anybody coming here who won the lottery, didn't know what to do?
Yeah, no, I had somebody who inherited, I had a few people who inherited a shit pot of money. They come in here and didn't know what to do. One of them came in too late. He already got a slick, not Channel Islands lawyer, but a police type lawyer who separated him from most of it. We had one. We had a drug lord from Colombia come through in the middle '90s who wanted me to go to South America and restructure their some of the work they were doing, and I called.
And get it to the stock exchange, right?
Yeah. No, they weren't interested in the stock exchange. And they wanted, and I called a U.S. attorney friend of mine. A U.S. attorneys and federal attorneys in America, and I asked him, is there any way to clean up purportedly alleged dirty money? And he says, we're not having this phone conversation. He hung up on me. And then I saw him in person, and he said, what are you, fucking crazy? And I said, well, I haven't done anything. I want to know. And I said, maybe I can give it to the Catholic Church. Now I give it to Mother Teresa. But they couldn't use all that money anyway, you know. But, and I said, no, there's no way, Dan. It's bad money no matter how you look at it. So I passed. And the money was no object. My starting fee was going to be $1 million a month. And depending on how much time, if I spent a lot of time, $5 million a month, cash. And so, but I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I would never do that. I would never think of doing anything like that. But we've had that, and we've had a couple others that came into a lot of money, and we've had some success. It's funny, we have more success with the guys that are 18 to 22 that get a lot of money through an inheritance than we do 25 to 35. 25 to 35, they think that they know something. They know a lawyer, a buddy of theirs went to law school or some shit. Or they got a real estate broker, thief, that they went to school with. But yeah, we've saved a few. And we told a couple people to, what their goals were. They just wanted to sail around the world for the rest of their life. You know, if you buy a $100 million annuity that pays you $7 million a year for tax-free for life, you can do a lot of sailing. We suggested they do that. Unfortunately, I didn't make any commission on the $100 million annuity to an insurance company, but we've recommended that, and we've structured some investments for some other people over the years. Not with any ongoing fees associated to it. The Guthrie group took a couple of fees in relationship to the placement of the money, and but we've had all kinds. I told you about the guy from the French Foreign Legion that was here, and but we've had I don't think we've had a billionaire, but we had some guys worth several $100 million. And some of the really rich guys don't want to be in a group like this because I had a billionaire tell me, I don't want them sucking off my tit. A very, very, very famous guy from Washington, D.C. owns sports franchises. I don't want those peasants sucking off my tit. Can I do one just for me? I said, you can just hire me, 3,000 euros an hour. We don't have to do this. You get better value coming to the seminar, but I gladly bill you, a few $1 million. That's fine. You'd be surprised how much money runs up at 3,500 euros an hour. And so I did some work for him, and but he was one of the pricky rich guys, But some of the rich guys are really nice. We've had some guys that have come in ostensibly under another name, but then it's kind of phony because they're telling you, I'm listening to what they say they do, and they don't really do that because they don't want you to know who they are. Except now, these guys, you can check them out on Google, and you can take a picture of them, and you can find out who they are. So it's tough to lie who you are. We've had people show up with security, guards, armed guards, and shit like that. And you wonder the guy sitting here, and there's a guy outside that door, and the guy outside that door, and there's two guys at the castle. You wonder, but he's supposed to be a property developer from Kansas. Oh, really? Oh, I guess it must be tough in Kansas, you know.
Pays
Kidnapping.
for those they are paying for the bodyguard staying as well. Or?
Yeah, oh yeah, they stay with the bodyguards. In fact, in Carrington Cottage, that's the bodyguard place for Carrington Cottage. And so we've had some really interesting people. We've had politicians. We had a movie star, a couple movie stars. We had a Dutch movie star named Michael something or other. He was a really funny guy. He was a really funny guy. He thought he was Mr. And he really did look, he's a handsome guy. About 6'3", blonde, Aryan, you know, blonde, blue eyes, tan from sailing on his yacht. And he's the longest running something TV show in the Netherlands. Still on there. Michael, I forget his last name. He's in my book. He's a section of my book. He gave me a testimony in my book. How I helped him make 7 million euros doing, I forget. But he's come and spent the day. He paid me 3,500 an hour for a bunch of hours and for 2 days. And then he went out. And unlike most people, he did exactly what I told him to do. And unfortunately, exactly what I told him to do happened. His board threw him out 15 months later. And after they got a contract with the biggest TV station in the Netherlands, whatever the station that is, and he called me up and he said, "You're right, they threw me out." And I said, "I told you what to do so you wouldn't be fucking threw out." He said, "Well, I didn't want him to sign that kind of paper because it made it sound like I didn't trust him." Oh, God. And I said, "Well, it sounds like you couldn't trust them, could you? You fucking idiot." Yeah, and because I told him what to do, and but it wasn't polite to get him to sign that document, you know. But he walked away with a lot of money, and he's a good guy, and I see him from time to time. In fact, he wants me to go. He's sailing around the world right now. Okay. Now, this is hard for the Germans. Sometimes the board is going to expect you to take action for action's sake, because they want to see you do something.
What's the best translation for that?
Do something even if it's fucking wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That ain't easy for the fatherland. I mean, in fact, it may be impossible.
When we do spreadsheets,
I no, that's true. Very good analogy. You do the spreadsheet. So if you do the spreadsheets, let's do something else that's not very productive. Okay? You got to take action because people don't want you to see you hesitate in decision making. That makes people uncomfortable. That makes people nervous. That makes people anxious. That's one of the things I don't do. I got a lot of faults and I got a lot of attributes, but one of my faults isn't not taking action. Okay, I may have to take it back, you know. And as good a chess player as I used to be, sometimes I make a move, and when I was a little kid, I used to go, take it back. Oh, you already moved it. You already moved it. And so then I moved it. That's the one good thing about computer chess. When you pick up the piece, it gives you 3 seconds or 5 seconds before you got to put it down someplace. Otherwise, it assumes you didn't move it. Okay, and you can't do that more than twice. If you don't move it more than twice, then the machine goes like that. So, and then I finally move it. So, whereas if I'm playing, the Impaler, you moved it. What is this shit? You're pulling it back. So. Pardon?
Once you build your track record,
yep.
Do you still do actions or transactions just to increase turnover? Because I can see a lot of, especially property guys, who feel they need to do turnover for transactions which actually don't give much profit. I mean, I can understand that at the beginning when you're trying to build a track record, but I think
once you have a track record. See, this is in the beginning. Once you have a track record, then you become more discerning in what you pick and what you choose and what you do. Okay? You're doing 20%, you're trying to have an atomic bomb. You're 40%, you're looking for good deals. And 40%, you're looking for cash flow still. But, the cash flow numbers eventually translate. Cash flow becomes only 10%. because you've got ongoing cash flow from other transactions. Pretty soon it's 10%, 60%, 70%, 20%. And then as your business matures, then it's 50-50. 50, you're looking to drop an atomic bomb, and 50%, because you've got ongoing cash flow, you're not looking for ongoing cash flow, but you never want the cash flow to dry up. And then you're doing the bunker deal to do meat and potato deals, as they say in America. Or schnitzel and bratwurst. No, bratwurst and pommes frites deals. Churchill hired vindictive, unscrupulous, ruthless men if they were also effective. Most people want to hire nice people, nice guys that they get along with. I've had partners in the past that wanted everybody to get along, like it was copacetic, touchy-feely deal. And certainly Bodo didn't fall in that category. I could deal with Bodo, even though I knew what Bodo was, because I felt he knew what I was and I knew what he was. Okay? So we didn't have any arguments. We had plenty of discussions, arguments, but we didn't have an argument. I knew what he was good at, and he knew what I was good at. We didn't have to be lovey-dovey. And a lot of people like lovey-dovey boards, and they don't have to be lovey-dovey for me. All they have to do is be effective to get the job done. Moral, ethical, yada. And the reason why I ultimately threw Bodo to office because he did something that was not ethical. He thinks it was ethical. We have a different definition of ethics. Again, a man at the top must continually drive the vast machine forward at its utmost speed. To lose momentum is not merely to stop, but to fail. Again, Winston Churchill. You got to keep them driving. There can't be any stall. You can't be pause, like on the camera here. There can't be any pause. Make sure it's not on pause. Yeah, it can't be pause. It's got to be moving forward. Okay, and I accept even moving slowly forward. Some guys don't accept moving slowly forward. I accept moving. As long as we're headed toward the goal line and a reasonable speed, maybe not as fast as I'd like, I leave management alone. If we stop or we deviate, then I step in. And sometimes I step in almost always not so nicely. Because I want to I want everybody to remember why I'm stepping in. Because I'm not there to do the day-to-day management. If I'm Robert's chairman and I'm doing the day-to-day management, then I don't need Robert or Bjorn or whoever. And any chairman will say the same thing. I'm not. Why am I doing this? I'm the one that's supposed to be semi-retired. You're the one that's supposed to be working your ass off, not me.